So I wasn't shooting anybody. I was on the street corner selling drugs.
The night before I got saved, I had a beer in one hand and a joint in the other.
And I knew I was living in hell.
I was in church, but not really in church.
Like, man, I really need to get it together.
I had no desire for God.
I was
no
Pressures I was putting on myself. I was about me. I was very all about me.
Put your faith and trust in Jesus.
Myself in
My
the
mom
most
Freely
rewarding
seeking, you
thing.
have to seek with your whole heart.
And change you and mold you if you just present yourself.
Hello, Now Word. Welcome to My Story. E-Partners, thank y'all so much for joining us. Be sure to like, subscribe, and then comment during the night as we discuss. I'm here with Esso.
What's up, people?
How are you?
You know what? I'm feeling good.
Good.
Feeling good, you know what I'm saying? The sun is shining both in the United Kingdom and the United States. So it's a blessing.
Yes. You ready to be open?
As open as I'm allowed. You know, as open as my wife will let me. You know, I can't. You know what I'm saying? I got a wife now. I can't divulge all the information. You know what I mean?
I mean,
You know?
I think she'll be okay.
Grace.
Permission.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So he's going to be giving us his salvation story, his salvation story,
Yeah.
his journey to Christ. And as we're going, please comment and tell us your journey. And then on the next episode, maybe we can shout you out and tell your story before we get started. So anyway, Esso,
Yeah.
describe your life, BC, before Christ.
Before Christ, I was just a young teenager in Nigeria and London, just trying to figure out, so I was born in Nigeria, of course, then I moved to London when I was 9, but I grew up in the church. As we were talking earlier, I was in church, but not really in church, you know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't consider myself a Christian at any point until maybe like I turned 16. So a rapper called Truth had a song called My Story. Ironically, had a song called My Story. And he said, "I don't have a horror story. God kept me in my youth. I give him all the glory." Right. So I don't say I have a horror. So I wasn't shooting anybody. I was on the street corner selling drugs, or in the high school selling drugs, and nothing like that. Thank the Lord for that. I might be dead or in jail.
Right.
But I was doing things I shouldn't have been doing with young ladies, or lying, stealing, being disobedient to my parents, all that stuff that you do if you don't know Jesus as a teenager. So I was doing all that stuff while also being in church at the same time. So I was in church every Sunday. There probably isn't a Sunday that I've missed for a very long time. But singing in the choir, I was rapping, all the stuff that you do, but I wasn't a Christian at all. I had no desire for God, no desire to read his word, no desire for his people, no desire to know him or to make him known. So if you think about what kids do now, I was probably doing the same thing, minus, any other bad thing you might think about.
Minus the massive jail stuff.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
but you were doing, but in church. So what is that like? Like going every Sunday?
Yeah,
maybe
going Wednesday.
Hearing the word.
Oh, absolutely, going every
serving,
Wednesday, Sunday, maybe even like a Saturday night, even if mom wants to drag us out, you know what I'm saying? So we were in church, man. The church raised me, essentially, you know what I'm saying? The church raised me. And I got a lot of my morals. Some of the reasons why I didn't do the stuff was partly because of my parents and also because of the church community. Like, I don't want to, that's clearly against what God is teaching. But also realizing that as I got older, you were still living for yourself because you had an idea of I'll serve God when I'm older. Let me just go do my thing now. Also, I'm not going to do my thing to get me in trouble. I'm not going to get a girl pregnant, but I'm going to still do my thing.
Okay.
I'm not going to go to jail, but I'm going to still do my thing. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what it was.
And your thing being?
Whatever, whatever, young men do with women prior to being married.
All right.
Lying, all that stuff, man. I wasn't the most respectful young man, at some points, in terms of school and stuff. So when I look back at my life, it wasn't like I was outright just a terrible child, but I was clearly sinning against God with my actions, and I had no desire to get right in that moment. I thought I'll wait till I'm 40.
A lot of people. Yeah, a lot of young people, we think we have time. Yeah.
Well, that's partly because I didn't see anybody my age. One of the reasons outside of that, so I just didn't see anybody my age serving God at all. So there was no teenage example to be because all the Christians I saw were 40, 35.
So that's something you do.
Everyone who was older at that point was 40s, but it might have been late 20s. But when you're a kid, you think
you're 16, everybody's 40.
You think everyone's 40 plus. Yeah, so my life, was was probably not too dissimilar to what people go through now, but it just wasn't. I wasn't honoring God. I wasn't living for Him, even though I knew all the things. I know we're going to talk about like knowledge of Christianity and stuff, but yeah, well, there was nothing in me that said, "Hey, I want to do this right now," because like I was saying earlier, I didn't have any examples of people who were young and who followed Jesus, because everybody I saw was like older than me.
Yeah,
so
40 when you were 25.
Exactly, exactly that. You know what I'm saying? So that was my life before Jesus, man.
So you 16. Okay, so what made the light come on? What was it?
It's a good question. That's a very good question. So I'll never forget. So again, kind of going back to this idea of like serving God when you're older, right? And thinking that you have all the time in the world, but now knowing that, you know, time is limited, time waits for no man. You know what I'm saying? The Lord is the one who dictates how much time we have, so on and so forth. But I thought I had enough time. So I knew I wanted to serve God. Like I knew that eventually I'll go and do that. You know what I'm saying? Around 40, you know, around 35, 40, let me do all the club I need to do in my life. Let me get all that
Get it
stuff
all
out
out
of the
your
way.
system.
Boom. And then what happens, I was 16, my friend died.
Wow.
So at that point, nobody young I knew had passed away, like ever. Nobody. And so she was in church, Sanita. I'll never forget, I still carry a picture of her with me all the time. And the week before she died, she just had a baby. Not the week before, she just had a baby. Maybe baby was maybe 3 to 6 months. So she was maybe like a year or two older than me. But we went to the same church, Sanita. Then the week before she died, I went to see her. Just, you know, as a, hey, what's up? You know, how you doing? She was going to collect like her grades, her results. So she was going to college. She had everything planned out, as we do, right?
Right.
Everything planned out. And then she was telling me, hey, you got to get this thing, you got to take this thing serious. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where are you? Like, you're hearing this stuff in church, but your life isn't matching. She was really like challenging me, which is weird because we didn't have that kind of like challenging relationship where it's like, we was like super tight, but it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to challenge you about loving Jesus. I was like, nah, that's weird.
Right.
And so I thought nothing of it. I was like, yeah, sure. Because I think even at that point, my sister had become a Christian.
Wow.
Even though we grew up in church, but we started taking our faith seriously, like the older we got. And so the week after I had the meeting with Sanita, she passed away in her sleep.
Wow.
Like just, you know, for whatever reason. And yeah, so that broke my foundation, really. Like, it just broke, like, everything. Was like, oh, snap, like, your friend just passed you. So it's no like, hey, you got to wait till you're older because you could go.
Right.
And so at that point, everything just started becoming kind of real to me. So I was snap, like, if you stand before God today, how will you stack up?
Yeah,
you know
and it's interesting that you said that y'all didn't have that relationship. She started asking.
Yeah, it was really weird. Right. Yeah, it's like weird.
So it's like, you know, God orchestrating.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you know.
Before.
Who knows where I would be, but
so you started.
So yeah, everything just started to get real to me, man. Like when I just started thinking, if I stand before God today, where will I be? Like, what will He say to me? Where am I going? Like, just the bottom line of it. Like, like what will it look like? And the answer was like clearly hell, because it's like, sure, like you're a moral person, but you know the scriptures and what it says, how Christians ought to live, and you're not living like that. Give an example, right? Like we would. Me and the youth in the church now, when I was a teenager, we would go to parties on a Saturday. All stay over, Sunday morning, get ready, all go to church. That's literally what we were doing. Like, we would do that, like, just normal.
Yeah.
Like, do the most wildest things on Saturday. And all of us, the whole youth ministry would go to church on a Sunday. I'm like, dog, what are we doing?
As a group, as a unit.
Literally as a unit.
Unified front.
And so when my conscience, and then now I realize it's the Holy Spirit when He kind of confronted me with that. So oh snap, like, nah, you need to get this right. And so I can't remember which Sunday it was, but my mom's pastor was preaching a sermon, maybe on the book of John. I can't remember fully, but he gave a very clear gospel presentation. That's when like, you know, people will be like, yo, you've heard it multiple times. But it was at that moment that I heard it that I realized, oh snap, I'm that guy. Like, I need Jesus now, and I need to live for Him now through the power of the Holy Spirit now.
So then, what immediately changed? Like,
I started reading my Bible.
Started reading your Bible.
Yeah, I started reading my Bible. You know what I'm saying? So thankfully, like my mom's a Christian, my dad's a Christian, my sisters, and all that stuff. So I had people to go to. Okay, cool. Like, what do I do?
And that's what I was going to ask you. Like, when you get saved, a lot of people say that the Bible is confusing. And I don't understand. So
Yeah.
What did you do you grew up in church, right?
Yeah.
But now you're reading and getting your interpretation. So who did you seek?
You know, like, Honestly, like I think at that point it wasn't. It was really more just trying to understand who God was and what the Bible said.
Okay.
So it was less about, hey, how can I interpret the like stuff that we do now? It's like, no, I just want to know. I just want to know this thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so my mom was like, hey, if you want to know what you believe and why, just read the book of John. And I think one of the reasons why she said that is because John literally says that these things were written so that you may know and believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. It literally says it at the end of it, the end of John chapter 21 or 20, whatever. So I was reading it so I can know why I believe what I believe, and finish that, start reading more. And then, I didn't know that there's this whole system of like young Christians. And so not only am I getting
there they are.
Yeah, not only am I getting saved, and like people in my church, like the youth are getting saved. And so we all start taking our faith seriously. All because my friend passed away, by the way. Because it really hit us. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And that's just amazing. I mean, I'm just thinking like how he used her.
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. Like
that is so so cool. Never knew that story.
Yeah.
Known him for a little bit, but never knew that story.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on. What would you say? So you see people like in salvation, or maybe leaving, walking away, or whatever. What do you say? Because how old were you?
I was 16. I was 16. Yes, that was I'm giving my age on that.
Right. And so you've been for a little bit.
For a little bit, 15, 16 years.
Yeah. So what has kept you faithful to?
It's a good question. That's a good question. So I remember when I was in uni. Uni's college. Yeah. So
I was
when I was in college, so I'm sitting in my room. I'm studying theology at uni, and a lot of people are leaving the faith, right? So now I'm in that zone where I'm like, okay, cool. Am I gonna go? Am I gonna stay? And I don't think my mom knew that God telling, hey, go to the book of John. Like, so John chapter 6 is probably like one of my favorite chapters, because Jesus looks at his disciples and says, hey, are you gonna leave me too? He says some hard things. He looks at them, hey, you're going to leave me? Like, because guys are leaving because of what he said, right? And then Peter turns to him and says, hey, where are we going to go? We've come to know and believe that you are the Son of God and you have the words of eternal life. And so that's always kept me.
Always.
Like, it's always kept me. It keeps me till today. Like, hey, where? Not only, because I don't think that he was saying where we're going to go because we have nowhere else to go. They got plenty of places to go.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They, go back to fishing, go back to their mom's crib, go back to their spouses, go back to their business, all that stuff. They got plenty of places to go, but the one place that we know if we go somewhere, we can't get what we get from you.
Wow.
It doesn't compute. So that's what's kept me. It's like, hey, if I leave the faith, like, to what end?
Right.
Because I know that this is real. You know what I'm saying? And I know that based on, historical evidence and, just like obviously believing through faith and studying other religions and realizing that, hold on, wait, like, this answers all the questions that I have.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This answers all the questions. Everybody's searching for God, trying to figure out how their sin can be atoned for, right?
Yes.
And Christianity is the only one that says, hey, it's done for you.
That's
Everything else says you got to do something there.
Oh, yeah.
To get to Jesus.
Which is, like you said, a lot of times I think young people say, when you said earlier, I'm going to get this all out my system.
Yeah.
And that's not how salvation works. If you can get it out your system yourself, then you don't need God to help you.
Well, I was saying, I want to get the life. I wanted to live that life. I wanted to do all of the debauchery and nonsense. I wanted to do all the sinning. And then come, but it's like, nah, you're still dictating your own life at that point.
Yeah.
And to anybody who's kind of in that boat, I would say, like, God is not honored through that. One, because you don't know how much time you have.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? So, like, what really got me to get right with God is like, hey, I'm so unlimited time that I don't know if I'm gonna be awake tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's really because of my friend. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I don't know where I'm gonna be tomorrow.
Right.
And so I want to make sure that I'm right with God today, and tomorrow, and so on and so forth. So the person who feel like they have all the time in the world, you don't. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And unfortunately, death has taught me that multiple times.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So.
And so, what in the short answer, salvation is? We could preach a whole series on it, but in a short answer, for someone searching, maybe watching, that's not saved or whatever, have a full understanding, or maybe want to walk away from the faith because maybe they're not clear about, like we talked, Jesus come into our heart and that's it. So what, in short, salvation is?
Putting your faith and trust in Jesus and living according to his word.
Awesome.
That's it. You know what I'm
And
saying?
so, lastly, anyone watching who's, again, we said, maybe struggling, maybe seeking, what would you tell that person right now, right? It's no accident that you're watching right
Sure.
now. But what would you tell that person
Yeah.
who's seeking, who's on the fence, who I don't know, what advice or what would you tell them to?
It's a good question. I would say that if you are truly seeking, you have to seek with your whole heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You can't say I want to know a thing is true and be whimsical about it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So I know people who have left the faith, right? And it's like, hell, I was looking. And I look at how much they were looking. They weren't really looking. You know what I'm saying? They were looking, but not like this is do or die. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if this is true, you have to dedicate your whole life to it. If it's not true, like Paul says, let's go drink and be merry. You know what I'm saying? So if you are truly searching and seeking, I would encourage you to continue searching, continue seeking, like your life depended on it, because it does. And then if you're in a place where like, hey, I've been searching and I still don't kind of have the answers, and even if you're kind of in that other space, I'll say go find other Christians who may answer those questions for you. And never think that any question you have is brand new. You know what I'm saying? People are like, but what about Adam and Eve? I'm like, bro, guys have those questions all the time. And sometimes, we got to bounce. But sometimes the answers we have as Christians, some people don't like it, but it's like, hey, that's what we have.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's what we have. And lastly, I would say, keep Jesus at the center of everything, right? Some people have peripheral questions that they have, but people who have left the faith, I want to ask them this one time. Someone said, hey, ask someone who's left the faith when they stopped believing in the resurrection.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Because oftentimes, Paul says that that's the foundation of our faith, right? Like, if Christ didn't raise from the dead, we should go and drink and be merry. But if he did raise up from the dead, then everything else changes. And so that is what some people should be going like, is Jesus real? Did he say what he said? Did he do what he did? And if he did, then I have to go and live for him.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
There's nothing else that needs to be said. I think he said it all. So thank you.
Thank you.
For telling your story. It was great. It was awesome. It was wonderful. And if you are watching tonight and that hit you, you can go to nowword.org, hit the Connect tab. There you'll see our contact an associate pastor forms, our seeking salvation forms, prayer request forms. All of that is there. We can connect with you. Somebody will reach out to you if you have any more questions about it. Someone will reach out to you. Put it in the comments. We'll look and we'll find you.
Yep.
Thank you again, ePartners, Now Word family, and guests for joining us. Thank you again, SO, for your dynamic story. And we will see you next time on My Story.
All right.
Next time on My Story. I was outside of my covering. Like, all the lingo and everything, I knew I was living in hell. I knew I was living outside of my covering. I was having fun.
Okay.
I was definitely having fun, but the type of fun that I was having, the consequences weren't fun. And I got so sick of the cycle I would constantly put myself in for those temporary moments of having fun.